Ooh, you see the grooves. Ah, there we go. Huh. Well, here's the box over here. And inside the box was this piece of paper, which yeah, 68 to 74 Nova 25 kit, left and right, and a Chevelle box. So it says the quantity is 1 and 1. I got a box and 2 pipes, and I guess the kit means it's just that you get those 3 parts, because there was nothing else in the box. Now, I purchased this apparently 2019, so wow, that's 5 years ago. Huh, that's funny. So yeah, these have been sitting for like 4 years. Bought them a while back, and I never installed them on the car because I ended up parking the car, and we ended up doing some other stuff. But now that I've lowered the Nova, it's time to fix the exhaust, because as you can see, the mufflers hang low, like really low, and that one on the driver's side was scooping rocks up and dragging the ground. Now they weren't crooked like that when I initially did this, they were straight, but because I took the subframe off and put the engine back together and transmission and switched this and switched that, everything kind of got jumbled around, and I just kind of stuck them back up on there so they would just kind of be in place, and they've kind of been in place for the duration because it was just kind of temporary. I didn't realize that they're going to be dragging the ground. Guess I should have figured that one out. So we're going to take this eBay kit and put on the car so we can fix the mufflers dragging the ground. I don't have any instructions, but fortunately the company I got these from, which I don't know who it is because I can't find it on eBay anymore. I guess they're no longer in business. But it says right here that this is the left tail for the Nova, and that this one over here, right there, is the right tail or tailpipe. So Nova tail left, which I'm assuming is driver's side. So we're going to bring it back here, put it on the ground. I'm assuming it goes this way, something like this. So this it goes up over the rear axle, comes straight along by the gas tank, and dips down underneath what would be the back bumper, which this car won't have a back bumper because it just won't. Good thing we're in a wonderful state of Tennessee where you don't have to have bumpers on your car sometimes. If it's a hot rod, I guess. Maybe have a bumperette or something. Anyway, so this is the right side. Which I'm assuming goes like this. Stand it up a little bit, maybe with my foot. Do such a thing. It's too heavy to roll up there, I guess. Eek. Man, that's why I use old cell phones to record, because that would have been terrible if I was a new camera. So this comes back up over the rear axle like that, and then this kind of comes along the side of the fuel tank and then back out the rear of the car. So looking under the car, you can see where the fuel tank's at, and if I'm not mistaken, these will come right along the center where my mufflers are. And I'll probably end up moving the mufflers forward so I can do this, because right now I think the mufflers may be back a little bit. And I gotta do a little bit of twisting on the exhaust to get the muffler pipes up where they need to be at. But I think we have what we need, so I'm gonna get this car on some jack stands, and then we'll make some adjustments and see if we can get these new tailpipes fitted under the car, because she's sitting low, as you can see. So the direction of the pipes I had was pretty correct. This portion comes up over the rear end and points back towards the muffler, which you can see there. You can see the same thing on the other side. points towards the muffler, goes over the rear end, towards the back, around the gas tank. I'll show you over here on the passenger side. So basically, over the rear end, and then this just kind of runs along the outside of the gas tank, outside of the spring, and we'll dump towards the back. Oh, and they'll both exit out of the back of the car like so. So that's the mock-up. Pretty straightforward. You can see there, kind of goes around the outside of the spring beside the gas tank and then up over the rear axle, and we'll hook up to the mufflers, which, as I mentioned before, are temporarily mounted. So we'll have to go through, and I'm going to unbolt from the collector up there, make some adjustments on the muffler placement. Probably going to end up cutting and re-welding these pipes to get them in the correct location for the mufflers, which is fine. This is a set of Thrush welded mufflers that I used to have on my 1997 C2500 pickup truck, the first Snowman. So that's where these mufflers came from. I had them for a long time. I think I've had these mufflers about 10 years, actually. I think so. Getting pretty close. Yeah, I think it's been 10 years. And I cut them off my work truck because I found some other mufflers that I decided to put on there before I sold it. And these Thrush welders, these Thrush welded mufflers I kept because I like the sound. So that's why they're on the Nova. And yeah, they sound pretty good. So I'm going to repurpose these yet again, because this project was basically a bunch of leftover parts, which is why it's called the Misfit, and why we are where we're at now. Anyway, I'm going to unbolt the mufflers up there, and I'll go ahead and fix these parking brake cables that are hanging down underneath here, because when I put the car back together last time, I did not put those above the mufflers for whatever reason. So I'll unbolt my muffler hanger back here, which is bolted up in there, way up there. Yep, see it bolted up. Unbolt that, or loosen up that clamp, or whatever we need to do there, and unbolt there, and then we'll finagle around. Probably just set the time lapse up. It's going to take a little bit of finagling to get everything lined up, and then once I get it lined up, we will go back and weld everything together and get these mufflers that are hanging low. As you can see, that's the bottom of the car, and those tips are low enough that they were scraping the ground, so actually below the bottom of the wheel on that side. So that was the issue. So we'll tighten everything up to the bottom of the chassis. I'll see if I can hug these pipes up here nice and close, or closer than they are now, because they're actually twisted down, which is one reason. You can see the muffler's twisted down there. It's another reason why we're having dragging issues. I just didn't get them up high enough. So this should alleviate all those problems. Yeah, I got one area of this floor pan I need to address. I have to do that, and I think I put this patch in years ago because there was a hole here. This is definitely some of the first welding and repair work I did. Yeah, it's pretty bad. We'll make that look pretty again though. And then we'll probably, well, I don't know, maybe some T-Rex liner, or maybe we'll just paint Rust-Oleum. Because you can see it's not really deteriorated too bad, because things sat in the barn. Sat outside for a few years, but still not too bad. Everything else on this car was solid though. I mean, you can see the rocker panels, no rust at all. That was one reason that I did not let this car go to the scrapyard as it was intended to do, because the guy I bought it from actually bought it because he was going to chop the roof off of this car and put it on his dad's Nova, because his dad's Nova, I think, had a tree or something fall on top of it. And I bought this car years ago as a roller for $800, and because I was in it for so little, I decided just to make it a fun car, and that's exactly what it's been and what it's going to continue to be. So eventually we'll get it all done, but for right now I'm getting the exhaust fixed so I can drive it with this lowered setup and see how much more work I need to do on getting the chassis where it needs to be at, as far as just a street car. Nothing real crazy, just something I can enjoy driving around. And then we'll finish up the rear end of this car and the bodywork, and we can call it wrap. Yeah, and we'll paint it. Something other than the Rust-Oleum roller job that the birds like to poop on.
Alright guys, here we are underneath the Nova, and cut this first piece back to about here from the muffler. You see the muffler there in place, and then this is the pipe that crosses over the rear end, comes around out the back. Now this pipe is going to be rotated up and behind the fender, so you won't see it. It won't be hanging down like that. What I have determined is that I'm going to have to extend this pipe that I had here previously about 3 inches back. So I'm going to cut this off and I'll extend this back 3 inches, and then up here I'm going to have to trim this pipe that comes back over the tail end. And basically, because this muffler, or the exhaust pipe, is sitting about in here on the muffler, yeah, it's sitting about all the way back into here, so it's actually hitting the baffles. So I'm going to go in, trim this one back, and extend this one. And this muffler fits just underneath the floor. So here's the passenger floor pan here, or footwell for the rear passenger, and the muffler fits in this little nook. So I don't know if you can tell on that side. It's kind of hard to tell. We're going to get to the back of the vehicle. So a little bit better perspective here from the back of the vehicle. This pipe that comes down, you can see it's kind of twisted at an angle. It will actually be pointed up. Like so. It'll be pointed up like that, which then this is all tucked inside the quarter. You can see here. From here you can see that the muffler is tucked into the floor pan. Over on the other side you can see how it's hanging down. On this side it's tucked up in here. There's the shop dog. What are you doing, Sophie? What are you doing? Ah! Alright, so we got the passenger side mocked up. You see it tucked up in there. Running back here, there's the muffler. It's currently sitting on my Harbor Freight work stool. And then we'll come back and weld the rear pipe in. Now you can see the difference in height between the muffler on this side and the muffler on the other side. Substantially lower on the other side. So it definitely makes a big difference there. Come around to the back and show what we ended up doing. You probably saw the time lapse. In order to get that pipe where I needed it at, I cut out this roll pan / rear tail light valance. My reason for doing this is I wanted the muffler up as high as it needed to be, and it was also running into the gas tank and the fuel lines. So the other thing is the 68 tail panel sits lower than the stock GM panel for these 7-73s, which comes up to about here, and this is where the rear bumper bolts in. So the muffler's in its correct position. It's just that this metal work that I did on the back was a little bit taller. No big deal. I'm actually taking this off. We're going to do something else, and when we do the other something else, we'll take care of radiusing this area back here around the tailpipes nice and neat and clean all that up. That's what's going on there. I'm going to go ahead and weld in this back section, which is right there. Yep, we're going to weld that in, and that should take care of the passenger side, and then we'll go and take care of the driver's side, which you can see here also the difference in the muffler placement. There's that one tucked up there behind the rear end, and this one's hanging down considerably lower. Alright, we got the other side mocked up here. Got my slot in the tail pan, and that's the passenger muffler. Walk around here to the driver's side muffler. See tailpipe up over the rear end, drops down into the muffler, and the pipes go up there towards the front where the headers are at. Alright, here you go. From the headers all the way back to the rear axle, up and over, goes up and around the fuel tank, right by the rear spring, and out the back. I got some fine tuning to do as far as adjusting the exhaust outlets, but she's all complete. Let's fire it up, see what it sounds like.